I have one more thing.
You go for one more thing.
I have one more big thing. This is actually the thing that I told you was my little present for you for coming on
Oh,
and doing
now
the
we're
episode for
talking.
me. I was like,
Dude, this is my treat. I love
Jake
this.
said yes. Jake said he's gonna do the show. I want to talk about something he likes. So I took some time off of the wheel time, and Jake, I'm here to tell you that as of 2 minutes before we started recording here tonight, I had finished and read through Mistborn, the first Mistborn book. I had ripped through this book,
You
dude.
loved it.
I ripped through it. I loved it.
You
I
loved it.
I will say this. I ripped through it more though because I knew I wanted to get it done to talk about. Like I really was like, I gotta
You
get this done.
loved it.
I will say I was pretty grateful that it was so easy to rip through.
He is his thing. So Sanderson's number one skill is his books are the most digestible prose of any writer I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
Period. He is easy to read.
And
that's not.
He is very easy to read. He was almost at first a little after reading 3 Robert Jordan books. I was like, this is almost too easy to read.
It's different, man.
Can I take this seriously enough? I thought at first.
But it's. I mean, it really is a very impressive skill, right? Because it gives the largest audience for you as a writer, right? That anybody can pick up his books and read it. And I believe that book series has the best magic system that I've ever read.
Oh, wow.
I believe so. I think Allomancy is the best magic system.
I am very interested. It is very well thought out for only what I'm guessing, since it's just the first book, we've only just kind of started to begin to scratch the surface.
Yeah, you just learn new cool things they can do. That's like really what it is. Cool. That book has the most twists and turns of any series I've ever read.
The first one?
No, the series.
Just in general, yeah. Like I said, I've only covered the first one, but
you only need to read the first 3 books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it goes, the first 3 books is a period of time and a certain set of characters, and then it does a time jump to another set of characters in a different arc. It's not very good.
Oh, that's too bad.
But check me out. So the plan with Mistborn. Let me tell you about Mistborn.
Yeah, tell everybody about Mistborn.
Well, let me tell you this part first, and then I'll really tell you about it. The plan with Mistborn has always been that he is writing these 3 books, this core with Vin, okay, as the main character, and then he's going to do another trilogy in the computer age, when computers first get started, okay? So, like, we're talking the 80s, okay? Based around Allomancy. I don't know how he's going to do it. It's going to be amazing, though. He hasn't written that yet. And then there's going to be a 3rd arc, another trilogy of future sci-fi Allomancy. And I'm very excited. And he is soon going to be starting writing the 2nd arc in the 80s. And so what he does, because these books have twists and turns, he wrote Mistborn. He wrote all 3 books before he ever released one, because that's how tied in together. Like, you'll see in the 3rd book how tied in it is to the 1st book. So with these other ones that he released, they're just like a hobby he did for fun.
Yeah.
They weren't like planned out in the same way, so they're just not as good, you know?
Yeah.
They're fun, I guess. But the first 3 books are just like, God, they're so fucking good, Chase. They're so good.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed that it doesn't seem like the first book is so good, man. It's so good. Yeah. I love it. I love Kelsier. I love Kelsier so much.
Kelsier's a great character. I will say this right now. Jake and I will be spoiling this series on that.
Oh, hard.
That's because
the first book.
Yeah, just the first book, just because that's all I've covered. But I'm not holding some of the other things we talk about here spoiler free. But when there's something both of us have seen or watched or read, we're gonna talk about shit. Yeah, Kelsier was a cool fucking character, man.
The first book of this series is the ultimate. You finished the book, and now you can start the story.
Sure.
Because the first book is a heist book.
Dude, I didn't expect it to just wrap everything up in this. Like, I knew it was a trilogy. I was just like
fighting the Lord Ruler.
Right. Like, I was like, no, this, like, the way when Kelsier died, I was like, okay, this is around where we'll probably wrap this book up in like build into this story, and then it just went into fucking high gear for the last 4 chapters, and I was like, or not at all. Holy fuck! And talk about twists and turns. Some twists and
You
turns you can
think
see coming, but some twists and turns you were just like,
how
oh,
incredible is this writer that you think? So you're reading the first book is a heist book. That's what it is, right?
on like
There's
a
the
nice
Lord,
high level, like a heist book to the
of
coolest
course.
rebellious way.
Yes, and like it just so you just assume like anything. You're reading a book. There's a bad guy. The lands are wrong because of the bad guy. It's gonna be 3 books. So if we have to overthrow the bad guy, fucking wrong. I mean, are you kidding me? The
Yeah,
first book ends with her. This is the big spoiler. She kills the bad guy
she
to
kills
end
the
the first
best.
book.
Straight up kills the best.
Straight
It
up kills the bad
solves the
guy.
mystery that we didn't even know we were looking for. Dude, that's the thing too. I've ripped through this book. There's so many things that throughout it I wanted to text you about, but I didn't want to give it away. But I'm gonna go through those things here today because I read them all. I read it so quick, but I might
Talk to
bounce.
me.
I might bounce around a lot because I read
Talk
it
to
so
me.
quick. Um, let's start with you know what though? Before I start talking to you, could you give a brief synopsis to the shitters who may not know the series, just the premise of Mistborn?
Brief synopsis.
Brief
The land,
synopsis.
this land, I forget what the name of the country is, but it's a fantasy land covered in ash. Right, the sun is blocked out by ash,
Yes.
and there is a guy called the Lord Ruler that is like the king of this land, but very tyrannical. There are level people that don't eat correctly, right?
The
And
Scars.
the Skaws. Yeah, I forget some of the verbiage, right?
Yeah.
But the fantasy element of this land is that there are abilities called allomancy, and there are and what allomancy is you consume metal and then you burn the metal in your body and you get a power. And there are 10 or 11 different types of metal that people consume, burn, and get a power. So one of them is that you get really heightened senses, like vision and hearing. Of course, one of them is you get really strong.
Yeah.
One of them is that you can push on metal so that you get pushed away from metals. Another one of them is you pull on metal, so you get pulled into metal.
Correct.
And that sounds
Depending
silly,
on weight distribution, which is
but
so
if
well
you can
thought out.
push metal where it's cool, because you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that do for you? You can push against well, if you have a coin, the pushers can push on coins and push them through your body and kill you.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome, right? So, um, so the deal is everybody can burn one metal, right? So it kind of balances not everybody, but people that have the power.
Right.
And,
The
um,
mistlings. The
but
mistings.
then there are people that are considered mistborns, right? And is that what they are called mistborns,
Yeah.
right? In the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. But mistborns can
They're
burn
like the
all of the
avatars.
metals. They are the avatars. They can burn all the metals and they get all the powers.
Yeah.
And it is the fucking best, dude.
It's
It
pretty
is like
sick.
I think it's the coolest magic system in any book series.
It's such an
It's
interesting fighting system that while you're reading it, it's like you really like it's because the whole book you don't really have to super pay attention to what you can skim this a little at times, but when it gets to the fights, you're like, no, I gotta really follow
he's
what's
he's the
going
best
on.
fight scene writer in fiction.
Yeah,
100%, not even
yeah.
close. And yet that's a known. I think people agree on that pretty unanimously that he is the best fight scene writer. It's why his
Fight
books are
scene
going to make
mixed
good
with his
movies.
own magic system that he understands
Yes,
and
man.
follows very well.
So the main character in this book is a Ska who gets recruited into this plot to overthrow this Lord Ruler because
This
she,
final empire, this whole
yeah,
1,000 year government system is their goal to like
yes,
take this down by the
yeah,
end
I'm
of
not
this
putting
book.
enough weight behind it because that's only the first book.
Right. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, I did not
Yeah,
think they were going to do it all in one book.
yeah. And so she is recruited because they find out she might have a couple powers. And Kelsier trains Vin and to be a Mistborn to overthrow this final empire. And the plot of the first book, and
Is yeah, just the
it's such
making
an
of this
easy
rebellion.
read. I think, and what I see a lot of people, again, I watch YouTube videos about books. I'm all about books. Is I'd say like 75% of people that read fantasy, like adult fantasy, this Mistborn is where they start because it's such an
Oh,
easy read
I'd say it's a
and it's a
really good
fun read.
starting one. Yeah, it's
It's a fun read. That's what's so crazy to me that you're reading Wheel of Time
c-
as
c- oh yeah,
like that was your because when you started doing it, I was like, man, that's not what I would have recommended Mistborn.
yeah. But
That's
I've read other fantasy, but this wasn't my
I
first like
know,
trip
but
into the.
like I
But
know, but
it,
that's to get you sucked in. I would have
yeah.
recommended Mistborn,
Now that
and
I
that's why
know
you have to.
Mistborn, I'm like, yeah, that's what
You
made it so
see,
easy to be one that I was like, I'm gonna take a 5 day break on Wheel of Time and read through this book.
I love Mistborn. I think it's so good,
And I was
and I
glad it was
think
as easy to read as it was.
it's so easy, and it's like that the whole way through. And the plot, that third book is fucking awesome, dude.
Excited.
Dude. I had like Tori and I had to have a fight when I read the third book because I did
It's
not pay
always good.
attention to her because I was like, "This is so fucking good."
Would you
It
please
is
shut up, Tori?
Chase,
I'm trying to
Chase,
read.
Chase, Chase,
Jake.
Chase. It's so good. I can't
Wow.
even talk about it because you are now getting into what the story is really about.
Yeah.
Because what's the last thing the Lord Ruler says? Do you remember?
Something along the lines of like, basically, like it's because of me that I was able to hold whatever else back.
I'm
Essentially.
the reason you guys were all okay, motherfuckers.
Right.
I
Right.
was
Right.
holding this shit
Like I
together.
might have not been great, but like I was stopping a lot of bad shit. Well, that whole
That's
twist at
right.
the end, not to spoil the end right off the bat, but like, dude, when she
Sorry,
like
that's my fault. I'm jumping around. That's
when
my
she
fault.
solved who he was by the end, I was like, holy fuck, I did not see that. Because the whole book, so it kind of plays on your emotions. In the book, before every chapter, there's just this random dialogue going on that you're like, oh, somebody's telling a story. And slowly, as you're reading more in the book, you're like, somebody's telling a story of the past. And then, middle of the book, they start to tell you, oh my god, this is the Lord Ruler's logbook. And they're reading things about his history. So while the book's going on and you're hearing things going on now, you're getting this random backstory of this who we believe to be is the Lord Ruler and this guy that hates him, Rakesh or Ra something, um,
Rahish or something.
Rahish,
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that.
And you're not really thinking much about that. Like you're trying to learn from it, but you're not looking in the right
It's
places.
background.
It's such background, but I liked it. I liked seeing it there. I always once I found out
Oh,
who
it's
those
so
were,
awesome once you
I paid
realize it's
attention
him.
more. But then at the end of the book, they like the last like 15 pages, just like you're not the guy who wrote the logbook. You're the guy who killed the guy that wrote the logbook. And I was like, oh my god. And when she solved that he was a what is it, a fur chemist or a fur alchemist or
For Alchemist.
a fur alchemist?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking so cool. Such a great. He planted so many seeds throughout that you didn't think much of at the time that just like it was made it so easy for that story to be like, wow, there's 4 chapters left. Kelsier's dead. Uh and
And the
she's
payoff's
captured.
incredible.
Is it gonna wrap itself up? And it really did.
Perfectly. So
Leaving it
that's again, this is the book that got Brandon Sanderson the Wheel of Time.
yeah.
Remember that. This is the book that
Well,
got him Wheel of
that's one of
Time.
the other reasons I wanted to read him because I was like, you know what? I hear these last couple books are good. I'm not anywhere near them right now, but I want to know what this writer's about
He's the best,
now.
man.
And that's my
He's the
plan.
best.
My plan now. I read this. I'm going to finish Wheel of Time, and when I'm done with that, I will come back and finish Mistborn.
Yeah. He's the best. He's the best writer going right now, and he writes at a tremendous pace as well. He actually writes too many books. I think it hurts his work, but
That's
um,
you can burn yourself out. But
I
I'm
think he
glad I'm
does.
reading the ones that like you told me about these ones a couple months back. So I
Yeah,
was like, I'm gonna check this out.
they're the
Um,
best.
a
They're
lot
super
of
fun.
likable characters, a lot of likable themes. You think you know where certain things are going when really they're not going that way at all. For instance, the whole psychological warfare that's going on in Vin's mind throughout the whole book. The payoffs that you get for that are so cathartic by the end. Like
Mm-hmm.
you expect things to go a certain way. Like the whole book, I'm expecting who's gonna be the person that betrays her in this book that like confirms her suspicions. It's gonna be a whole thing that we have to kind of do. And that doesn't really happen because you start to learn more. This isn't a story about somebody who's struggling to learn to trust. You're just watching somebody learn to trust people and what their
Mm-hmm.
head's going through. And then she finds out that her brother, who we think is just awful the whole first book, actually died to save her life. You're just like, fuck, way to make a guy like get the Snape effect in one
Yeah.
book.
Right.
And then in kind of an offhand comment, there's a lot of like very offhand things that are very big. Like you could almost miss like, wait, what did they say that? Yeah, they said that. Okay. Huh. Her brother's cool. I feel like we should linger on that a little longer, but I guess we don't need to. Until later
Yeah.
when she thought about it in the epilogue. She was just like, how about that? My brother was
Yeah.
awesome. Her dad just gets fucking mutilated by the aesthetics that certain the book takes you places. Like you get the vibe of very certain types of society atmospheres, what the aesthetic of the world should be like, and then it throws like these weird things like the mist wraiths, like that whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, or like the inquisitors and their whole look, and you're like,
Inquisitors are fucking cool.
what an
They're really
odd,
cool.
it's like a very steampunky mixed with fantasy world.
Hey, you gotta hold on 1 second. I gotta show you something.
Yeah, please.
Trust me.
I do. I do.
This is important. You should already know what this is.
I should, but
I have leather bounds of all those books too, dude.
God
Of all the Mistborn
fucking
books.
damn.
I love these fuckers, dude.
So I bought the digital book. I didn't see how big the actual book itself was. I read this on
Yeah.
my iPad.
Well, these ones, the margins are huge on these. These are just like, the really expensive leather bounds.
Those look sick.
They're so cool. And they have like the Allomancy symbols on the fronts.
That's
and on
amazing.
You know what I mean? Oh, I fucking love these books. The art, you know what? I'm gonna now that because you know these books, I'm gonna show you some of the art in them.
Sure, yeah,
Absolutely. Hold on, I have to make sure I don't spoil. I have to make sure I don't spoil anything.
Yeah. Please, please don't.
I think the first one. I'm not.
Yeah.
Dude, look at this.
Oh wow.
That's the end paper.
That's pretty
look
sick.
At that, dude.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous. I'm gonna think of that now when I read this.
Oh,
Dude, I'll tell you what
good.
though. I must have missed at the beginning of the book when they said Kelsier was blonde.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm reading this book, I saw Butcher from.
Oh, yeah, from
like that's how I saw it from The Boys. Like I really, but like without a beard. But then even when he was blonde, I was like, okay, now it's just him, but he's blonde.
But like, I love these ones of her over the cityscape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like over the town. Chase, I fucking love these books, dude.
Yeah.
Very cool though. I love it. Well, this is what Kelsier apparently looks like.
Huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that look. I think that's a cool look.
All right, last one.
Nothing wrong
but yeah,
with this.
These are awesome, dude. I fucking love these books, man. So yeah, I also have the expensive leather bounds of these books.
Good. I mean, as you
I'm
should.
A
I think
sicko.
if I'm as into it by the time I'm done as you are, I probably will as well. It's a good thing about that series. There's only 3 books I gotta buy if I want to buy them.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the next iteration of those books. But we have to talk about those. What?
I didn't know it was gonna like the plan for the series was to kind of keep going in that direction.
Isn't that interesting though? The way he's gonna do that. That he's gonna do. So this is old timey classic fantasy. The next iteration is going to be like computer age. The final iteration, space age.
I'd have to see it.
He has the ability,
and I'd probably have to see how this series ends itself. There's a lot of cool, dude. Freaking Sazin.
You're going to love it.
Sazin.
Sazed. Yeah.
Or Sazed. Yeah. Saz. Awesome character. Like it's another one that's just filled with so many cool characters, and there were so many people that I thought might be the people to betray. Like I was so waiting for a betrayal.
You were convinced on that, huh?
That I felt like I was Vin. I was her. I was like, there's a betrayal coming. When is it coming? And it never did. And I'm just as surprised as her. And I really enjoyed that. It kept me on my toes. God. Kelsier. So there was a scene, the first scene that I wanted to text you about. I thought it was so smooth. It made me like, I was like, Kelsier. I already like this character, but he's such a smooth motherfucker. And the way Brandon Sanderson writes, he I liked how he did this. It's like the first scene we start to meet the group, and Vin's kind of meeting them all before Kelsier shows up, and they're all coming in, and they're meeting Breeze, and they, it's Ham and Breeze and uh, Dachshund Clubs, the whole gang's there, and Vin's kind of getting to know them, and as people are coming in, Breeze is trying to soothe people into like getting him this wine. Like he wants somebody to get up and get him the drink, and you're learning what soothing is. You're learning how it works. Um, it's a really well put
What
together
is going
scene.
on?
Oh, did you miss everything I just said?
Yeah, I cut out. I went to check my internet again.
Oh shit, dude.
It's Breeze, Doc. That was the last thing I heard.
Oh shit. Yeah, so she's in the room with them, and Breeze is trying to soothe people into having them get him some wine. And the book's like teaching you how soothing works throughout all of this, and you can't nobody can trust if they're getting the wine for this guy because he's making them get the wine. But he really wants the wine, like the whole time, but people are convincing themselves not to get it. And like Kelsier comes in, he starts to try to convince everybody to fucking rebel against this final empire that's been around forever. And they think he's fucking crazy, and Breeze isn't gonna do it. And fucking Kelsier he had the wine. Somewhere along all of this, he had grabbed the wine and brought this guy the drink. Like he made a good point and slapped the wine down on this guy's fucking desk, and I was like, "Damn, baller right there! What a smooth criminal Kelsier is."
Listen, I have nothing wrong with a guy in a book that's just fucking cool.
Just fucking cool.
He's just fucking cool. And he has, the way he gives him his downside is that he has like an anger and a vengeance problem, right? Like he wants to kill the nobility. He wants them gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog.
And you almost like, man, you are Vin. As the reader, you are Vin throughout the whole book. Because you're getting to know that there are good nobility people, but you're also like, maybe they do. Also, like, maybe I should agree with Kelsier because he's so charming. But like, I also like Elend, who seems like a pretty cool dude as well.
How incredible though that in one book to make me care so much when Kelsier died.
I was so sad to see him go, man.
I was like, so sad, and also he knew he was going to die. Like he knew he wasn't going to beat him.
Yeah.
Or that like,
but when you're reading that scene, you're not even sure what's happening.
I forget what the last medal is called.
I don't think they ever named it in this first book.
It gets a name. And he burns it, and he's ready for that thing to happen, and you're like, oh shit, here he goes. Dead. Nothing fucking happens. Unfucking believable.
The guy, oh my god, yeah, the Lord Ruler just shows, and it's after such an epic scene. He kills an Inquisitor, something that's never really been done. He fucking goes, bam, craft, most anime battle shit crazy I've ever seen. And then the Lord Ruler just steps up, takes a couple spears, doesn't die, walks up to Kelsier, bitch slaps him, kills him, leaves.
But our girl Vin gets him, dude.
Gets him so good. Yeah. Yeah, and like it seems like everybody's gonna start going their separate ways, and then so early on in the book, you're learning about Vin going out in the mist, and you see the mist race for the first time. You're learning about this species of creatures that can eat the skin and bones and take on the form of whoever they eat. And through the whole book, there's this guy who all you know about him, Lord Renault, is that he is not the actual Lord Renault. He's a disguise. Yeah. And you're like, who is this guy the whole time?
Yeah.
The whole fucking book. About this. And then out of nowhere, you actually find out that this guy is one of these fucking creatures that you heard about earlier on in the book. Like, so, like, there were so many times where I was like, bravo, what a cool little bring back. What a simple yet elegant.
There's one specific little twist in the third book that is my favorite. It's a little thing like that, just a little thing.
Yeah.
That I'm like, this is the best thing that's ever been done in a book for me. Like, that's my favorite little twist ever.
It's cool when the little ones can leave such a lasting impression.
So I told you I got my college roommate to start reading. I started with this series for him, and it's his second favorite now. Like, he tells me with every book series he starts, he's chasing this high of this series. So
that's good to know, because like I said, I had the because like this is an A+ book. I really enjoyed this book.
It's different, man. It's different.
But after reading 3 A++ books, it was very different.
You're reading a different style of thing, right? Wheel of
Boom,
Time
boom,
is
boom.
all about it's all about investment, right?
Duh,
It's
dude.
slow burn,
Yes.
it's payoff. Mistborn
Yes.
is fast paced,
Yes.
it's fucking action,
Yep.
and it's twists and turns.
Yes.
And yes, it
Yeah.
is like it's just different. It's very fast paced,
Yeah.
but there's so much in there. Like
There is so
it's
much in
fast
there.
paced. And normally, when you tell me something's fast paced, I go, "Oh, so it's shit." Like it doesn't have depth, you know.
Mm-mm.
But buddy, it has the depth.
It
It has
it
the
definitely
depth.
has the depth where it puts the depth in right where it needs to be. It spins past
Hmm.
stuff that needs to be fast, and
Yeah.
then like the fact that the final battle, like the final battle with Vin and the Lord Ruler, is maybe 14 pages, maybe. Um, they get a
Hmm.
lot done in that 14
I know.
pages. You know what I mean?
Dude, he's the best action scene writer I've ever read, and I read a lot of books.
Yeah, I would say that would be the time when I was reading it where I was like really, really like giving it my full attention whenever action like really started to pick up. Because sometimes we'd just be at the balls, we'd just be like getting information.
Different,
I'm
yeah.
looking for Ellen, she's looking for Ellen. I'm waiting to see that. But like then all of a sudden whenever like okay, so when she's at like the final ball and shit starts going down there to the point where she learns that the one girl was actually a paid bitch to like spread gossip and finds
Yeah.
out about Ellen being assassinated, and she just goes full rage mode out to find who's going to try to kill him. It's all one chapter. And she finds out the killer is that Shan bitch that you've hated the whole book, and she's
Yep.
also a Mistborn, and there's just this fucking epic battle outside of this whole thing that you're like, oh man, shit is going. When shit starts to go down, it really starts to go down. And there are a lot of
It's
things that they kind of make go down kind of off screen, or like you could maybe want a little meat on those bones, but you're like, whatever, we got to
it
get to
keeps that
other.
pacing up, right?
After reading Wheel of Time, I'm like, you can take some meat off for
I think
just a
it's
couple
fun that you're
pages.
reading something fast paced in the middle of Wheel of Time because it is fast
It
paced.
was fun to just do real quick, and now
Dude,
tomorrow
they're so good.
I'll get
You
back
don't
to
like
Wheel of Time.
these are the I don't play a lot of video games. I don't watch a lot of movies. This is it for me, are these fucking books.
Yeah,
And this is one of those series for me, man. This is, as you can see, these are very fucking expensive, and I'm putting them in our living room of our new house. I'm very fucking excited about it.
I am pretty excited. I am pretty excited to read the next book. Just because the whole book, you're kind of hearing about this Well of Ascension, you're kind of hearing about this Hero of Ages, and you think this all has happened, but really it
And
got
you know
kind of
what the
like,
next books are called, right?
yes, I know it's called the Well of Ascension, and I'm just like, well, fuck, I
And
guess,
the last book is
in the Hero
called
of Ages. So
Ah.
it's like, wow, let's go, and like
It
we're
really is.
rebuilding this entire
I fucking
system.
hate being that guy. I hate being the guy that tells you that like now you're getting into the big meat of the story, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. When that's
Uh,
fine. And I will. The thing is, I read this so fast that I do.
yeah.
I think it was good to do it this way: read through Wheel of Time, and then kind of like skim the first one again, just to reread some things that I feel like today I read a lot. I knew I had to get it done, so I read.
You didn't have to do that, man.
I had
That's
to. I
cool though.
had to. I had to. So
That's cool
I
though.
spent the whole day reading and listening to the audiobook of this book, and thank God it's as good as it is that I was because like where I started today to where things got to, it was just like, wow, a lot happened today. Holy fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to give the second and third one time when you
Yeah,
read them.
and
Don't
I
burn
will,
through them
and
that
I
way.
will, and I will. Yeah, now I know
That
not
third
to.
one. Oh my god. Oh.
And that's the thing.
God.
It's one of these books where like the way the story in the first one ended, I'm just like I have no clue where the story is going. Like that, it doesn't. It leaves you with like wanting more, but it doesn't leave you with any knowing what you're looking for. You're just like, I want to know what the fuck's going on still. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
love it, man. You're
I
into my shit now. This
I
is
am into
awesome.
your shit now. I am into some of
Yeah.
your favorite shit now. I'm really, 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 really fucking in the Wheel time, but I thoroughly enjoyed and had a
Wheel of
good
Time's my
time.
favorite thing of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's currently half of my wall over here are those books. So
With 15 600 page books, yeah, it would kind of have to be. It would kind of
yeah,
have to be.
this
Um,
series is great though, man. I'm really excited for the second iteration of them,
yeah,
and I'm excited to talk more about them with you.
yeah. Now that I'm into them, and once my schedule, the cool thing is once I know that I'll be able to get through Mistborn rather quickly once I'm done Wheel of Time. You know what I mean?
They're fun. Yeah. There's a different style, and I think that's cool.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
it's got like high stakes fantasy violence, and what did we say? Because the book itself is a heist, but also on
It's
the
a heist,
side
yeah.
there's like some YA shit kind of on the side for you.
The first one is far more YA than the next two, in
Okay.
my opinion.
Well, they
Yeah.
got the relationship thing out of the way. That was another cool thing to see Kelsier kind of like accept Ellen, even though he doesn't really even know it all. He like sacrifices himself
Ellen's
basically.
great.
Ellen's pretty
Yeah.
cool. He was cool right when I
Ellen's
met
great.
him.
Yeah.
He seems like the stoner dude that's just cool.
Yeah,
And
he's like, I'm not into this
and you're
shit.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you're just
Ellen's
happy.
great.
Yeah.
I really like Ellen.
That is something that I felt went really fast was just like the whole overthrow of like the whole government system and like him taking over, and now Marsh is taking over as like the only Inquisitor. That's another thing. I was like, oh wow, we just got rid of Inquisitors like
I didn't know
that.
you knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the twist with him, like you thought that he died, and when you thought he died, I was just like, oh man, they just when they kill people, they just kill them and we move on. So when Marsh came back at the end as an Inquisitor, I was just
Yeah.
like, because that's kind of I sort of had that thought, but I was like, nah, he seems dead. And then he showed up, and I was like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I didn't know it was gonna be him. I was like, how are they gonna make me believe an Inquisitor just came in here and killed this other Inquisitor that we just found out his first name?
I'll tell you how. It's his fucking brother.
And it worked. And even though that happened, they still weren't able to beat the Lord Ruler. Like they were still getting their ass kicked. I was like, oh my god, what is gonna happen? How are
She
they
has to
going?
fucking mist, dude.
Yeah,
The
they find
mist,
out
suck in the mist.
she sucked in some mist, and she used a power to reveal that he could use both Archamis, or fuck, I keep forgetting what it's called,
For alchemy.
per alchemy, and allomancy.
Yeah.
And that's what made him able to do this. And
Yep.
I'm so interested in like the what's it called, the depths.
Best magic system, dude. Best magic system, in my opinion. I'm looking at all my books right now, trying to think of a better magic system, and I don't think there is one.
Wow, that's so interesting. Because I'll be honest, man, the whole time I was reading this, I didn't really think of it as a magic system. But I guess now that you put it, like it is. I was thinking of it as like a, I don't know, like scientific bending system almost.
Yeah. Well, when I say magic system, I just mean a system that gives you powers and also has limitations.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
like, and that's what he's really good at is like the limitations.
Yeah.
You know, of where, because any good magic system, that's really what it's built around.
Yeah.
Is the limitations of what
agree.
you can't do. Unless you're Vin and you're just a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, and I still don't really know what makes her special or how, because like her dad ended up being this guy that I was like, oh, what's the big deal with him? They all killed him. I was like, oh, okay, so what was the deal? Like, why is Vin so amazing? But
you'll get there.
I'm sure I will. Little breadcrumbs, but
I love it.
Yeah, you sent me that message that was like, just give me instruction, and I had like 2 minutes left of the epilogue in the audiobook, and I was like, just hold on, man, I'm almost done.
That's awesome.
I'm almost done with this fucking book.
That's awesome. That series, I have a couple more for you that are must reads in the future. So
yeah,
you won't run dry on books.
I think all right for right now. I'm just gonna spend.
I know you're good. I know. I just mean in the future.
Batch of months with Wheel of Time, and then
it's the fucking best. I'm just so happy that you're so into it.
So
you know,